welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Maqbool, with you at PTV World. In today's show, we will be talking about two very important stories. The first is in reference to the political situation of the country, since, of course, in the aftermath of the announcement by the PTI chairman with regards to the dissolution of assemblies in Punjab and KP and the resignation from Sindh and Balochistan is something that has gained much attention and is, of course, much talked about as to what are the options for both PTI and the current political setup. We will be taking a look at exactly what is it that is going to happen in terms of what strategies PTI is going to be employing, whether or not they will go through with this, and what sort of concerns exist both in Punjab and KP, and then of course for the overall demand and hope that the PTI has for the call of early elections to gain from this particular move. On the other hand, we will also be taking a look at what the PTM will go ahead with, since they're talking about multiple options on the table, including a vote of no confidence against the CM Punjab, and then also governor rule, whether or not they're going to go ahead with that, and how exactly are they going to navigate the evolving situation. Then of course we're going to be talking about the impact that this is going to have in both the provinces, and then of course in the overall political dynamic as well, especially in Punjab too, since the administrative level in Punjab is being severely affected previously as well, and even now with regards to this announcement regarding the dissolution of assemblies. And then of course when we talk about what is the options for the political leadership within the country, why the parliament is not being used is another concern. So that is going to be our overall look in the first segment of the show today, where we're going to be taking an in-depth analysis on the current stances of the PTI and the PTM and how exactly is the situation going to be tackled with. Our next segment is going to be focusing on what is going on in terms of Pakistan's efforts to import crude oil from Russia, and they of course have been trying to get about 30 to 40% discount on that. Our delegation is also there, headed by the petroleum minister, and these negotiations are of course underway. The Russian side still hasn't given any clear stance on the matter and said that they will be considering Pakistan's demand, and they will get back through diplomatic sources. What that means in terms of the economic situation of the country, whether or not we're going to be seeing any improvement of that, is still a question that we will explore. And then also what the US has said a couple of days ago with regards to Pakistan's delegation's visit, that they have nothing against it, they have nothing against Pakistan importing crude oil as well, and that there is no sanction on import of energy from Russia. But of course they've also shared their concerns of Russia not being a responsible energy supplier. So that is what we're going to be looking at in the next segment of the show today. For this and more, as always in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi, and today in the studios we've also been joined by our guest, Barrister Safiullah Ghori, who's a legal expert. Thank you very much, Barrister Safi, for taking out the time. We've also been joined online by Mr. Zulfikar Ali Badr, who's a spokesman to Chairman PPP, Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Thank you very much, Zulfikar Saab, for joining us and being a part of the debate. Let me start with you, Zulfikar Saab. Considering the situation at the moment and considering the political climate, we keep on hearing with regards to what the PTI stance is, what the PTM stance is, what the PMLN stance is. But I want to, of course, understand where the PPP stands, because they seem to be going very smoothly out of this entire particular situation and sailing through what is going on. What really is the stance for PPP at the moment, and what sort of stakes are involved, what sort of role is involved, especially with regards to preventing the dissolution of assemblies?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. For inviting me to your show. My regards to all the guests in this show. Pakistan People's Party has a very clear position regarding the strategies made for Punjab and KPK. Mr. Asif Ali Zardari in today's recent interview has clarified all the questions which are in the market and people are asking. Pakistan People's Party will go with the decision of the National Unity Government Alliance, and whatever they say, we will go with that. And the majority of the allies are in favor of going for the no confidence motion against the CM Punjab and the CM KP. So we will go for that. In case there is a dissolution of assemblies, we will go, and rest of the parties will also go for the elections, and we will not run away from that. We will contest, we will face the music, and we will be in the battleground to fight and win. It doesn't matter we win or we lose, but we will be there to fight out. And regarding the decision of PTI's chairman regarding the dissolution of assemblies, I think this is a challenging decision. This is a difficult decision, and in which again I say he was not prepared before time. He haven't done his homework before announcing this thing. So after his announcement on that 26th of November, now he is doing a consultation with all the party members, with their allied parties, and he's doing uh, getting the feedback from the members of his parliamentary party. So he is not sure whether what decision he is going to make, but he has created that decision has created that political chaos in the country, and
Right.
that chaos is creating a unstable political and economic stability in the country, which is
Right.
not good for the country
Absolutely,
and the
Badr Sahab,
Pakistan.
I'm intrigued by
And
your comments. Badr Sahab, I'm intrigued by your comment regarding vote of no confidence. As you know well, Punjab Assembly has been in session for past 4 months, and when it is in session, it is not possible to bring a vote of no confidence. And there is always a possibility that the speaker announces that the session is prorogued, and the next moment assembly is dissolved. So how do you propose you actually bring no confidence motion in that a situation?
Pitafi sir, this is one of the options. I haven't said that we are going to use only this option. There are a number of other options which all the national unity government allies are talking on the table, and they are discussing with each other what other options can we use. But I think that will be a counter strategy once the decision of the PTI's chairman will come out and they are going to take a stand on their decision. I think then they are going to look for a counter
Right.
counter strategy
One,
for their decision. Otherwise,
absolutely. One more clarification, sir, regarding what you were saying that there's pandemonium in PTI, and from your leaders we keep on hearing that many people are actually in contact with your parties or unity government as well. Is there a possibility that the speaker of Punjab Assembly might also be one of such members? Badr Sahab.
I am not sure if he is in touch. I am not sure if he is in touch with anyone or not. But
Yeah.
I just have heard from different friends there are a number of people who are in touch and they wanted to do. So I think uh, the details I don't know much about it. But there are few people. There are few members of the provincial assembly from the ruling coalition that they are in touch with the ruling federal government and with different parties. So, but having said so, uh, being in contact doesn't, give you that strength that whether they are going to stand with you or not, but there might be
Right.
negotiation for their future political scenario
Right, and Zulfikar Sahab, earlier you were
uh,
talking about plenty of options existing, and Barrister Safi, we've been hearing that a lot in terms of what statements have been coming out from the PDM, that there are many options for them to consider. But
they have
realistically, what options exist, especially also
in
in terms of whether or not that those options are actually going to benefit the PDM or protect the country from going into further chaos?
Right, so I think it's a very good question, Sana, and we are quite clear on what is happening simply because of the timing of how the matters are proceeding. If PTI had to dissolve the assembly, it would have put that motion forward already. The fact that PTI is still weighing in on safe ways to do it, there is no safe way to do it. It's just a simple paper. You have to submit that resolution to the speaker. The fact that it's still being considered by the PTI on how they are to do it is a time-buying effort. So what the only reading that I get from this is the fact that maybe PTI is trying to convince all its parliamentarians to support its move, and it does not have that support from its own parliamentarians in the KPK Assembly and in the Punjab Assembly. Now, the fact that PTI does not have it and the fact that the PDM knows that PTI does not have this support is extremely important.
Yeah, but sorry to cut you, but I just wanted to another clarification regarding this, dissolution of assembly. you only need two people on board. One, the speaker, the second, the CM.
Oh, absolutely.
As long as they are with you,
absolutely.
you can dissolve the assembly.
You can dissolve the assembly, but they, by doing so, they would do so at the risk of antagonizing all of their party members who are members of the provincial parties of KPK in Punjab.
Yeah.
So it is necessary to take the parliamentary party on board. And the parliamentary party is well aware of that. The PDM is also in touch with many members of the parliamentary party. That is why they have not put forward their resolution for no confidence either as yet. The very fact that this is a drafted resolution, we saw the draft that very night when Imran Khan announced that assemblies would be dissolved. But the fact that it's not been tabled in either of the assemblies means that the PDM is also awaiting a clear sign from PTI. So that's one thing. Now, secondly, we also know for a fact now that regardless of how they choose to proceed with it, this is a matter that will end up in the courts. This is very unfortunate. We know from the previous Supreme Court judgments that the Supreme Court has held that the parliamentary party is the only party, like you said earlier, that only two people, that's the constitution. The Supreme Court has widened the ambit of the constitution by saying that the parliamentary party gets to decide. This is not the decision of the head of a party, this is not the decision of any other party leader or member.
Yeah, but that is regarding the voting system, right?
Voting system, of
but
course.
We are talking about dissolution.
So for the dissolution,
only CM has to request
the CM
when
has to
it is
request
not
the
in
speaker
session.
but it needs to be in the session. It cannot be done without there being a proper session, and so that is something that I think both parties are well aware of. But that said, I'm personally of the opinion that the dissolution might not take place anymore. I don't see it going through simply because it would be an unpopular move and a move that does not benefit the PTI in any manner. I don't see what they stand to gain. The PDM could still make the government in Punjab. They are short of just a few seats. Those seats could be quickly filled in with by-elections. In KPK, they would of course be Governor Raj imposed. And if that were to be the case, maybe it would be beneficial for the province. What if at the end of the day it results in more peace? We've seen the moment all of this has happened. We have only in the last 2 weeks we have seen that the ceasefire with the TTP has stopped. The blasts are starting again. Maybe it's beneficial if there is a stricter government that locks down and starts cracking down on terrorism within KPK. So we don't know that as yet. But there are multiple factors at play.
Right, Barrister Safi, the aspect of the assembly being in session, is there no way to navigate around that, considering the vote of no confidence motion? Because there was also talk about some sort of aspect that can be cleared in terms of any suggestion or in terms of a vote of confidence that can actually happen even if it's in session. Is that so?
So it is to happen during a session, and once again, there have been suggestions that it could happen before a vote of no confidence could take place. But once again, I feel that these parties are so closely interlinked. The members talk to each other so much that either party would know what's going to happen next, and therefore could easily checkmate the other party. This is an unfortunate game for PTI. Whatever information, whatever they choose to proceed with, there would be a sufficient response from PDM.
Absolutely. We've also been joined by Mr. Sardar Ramesh Singh Arora, and we're going to be talking a little bit with him with regards to the situation, of course, considering, of course, what is going on, especially in terms of this announcement after the PTI has talked about. There's many things, many aspects that are being discussed. But considering, of course, that the political leadership and the concerns that the public has are to do with what exactly can happen with regards to peace. And of course, there's no real way of moving ahead with that without the political leadership considering the parliament as an option as well. Are there any ways that we can actually help the situation move in that direction instead of where it's going right now?
Look, thank you very much for taking me on a call to discuss about the present situation. Look, in politics, when we talk about the politics, in most of the cases, the politicians sit together and they discuss so many other ways how we can resolve this deadlock. So the political parties, the PDM, we want to discuss, and we want that PTI leadership, they come to us and we discuss to just the turmoil which is nowadays going on. But if you talk about particularly Mr. Khan is not in a mood and I think he's in a mood to destabilize the country, because now You can see the economic condition of Pakistan, the security situation around the Pakistan. Tariq-e-Taliban is like yesterday's attack on the on the law enforcement agencies. So I don't know why Mr. Khan is not taking it serious. And during his regime of 3.5 years, what exactly he gave to the nation of Pakistan? Just dharna, dharna, and dharna, nothing else. And all the time we talk about the corruption. Now he, by himself, he's involved in so many cases. Like you cannot forget Farrukh, you cannot forget this Tosha Khana. But now what exactly we want the resolve. And the resolve is all the political parties sit together and discuss his agenda is that he wants election, and we don't say that there will be no election. Election will be there, but election will be on time. If he's going to like these two, talking about these two assemblies, Punjab and KPK, we also have the constitutional right, and we will go by the democratic mandate. Democratic mandate that we will go for the vote of confidence. We will ask for the vote of confidence, and if the Chief Minister Punjab has 186 votes with him, okay, fine. But we will not go for any undemocratic resolve or undemocratic situation where we can go for...
Right, I understand that, Mr. Ora, but we were talking about this, but we, of course, were looking at the situation and nothing really has happened as of yet from either the PTI side or your side. What exactly are you waiting for?
We are discussing it, and not only the party MLN, we are discussing it with our allies, and we are in consultation. So certainly, it depends what the leadership of the PDM they discuss, because Mr. Asad Zardari nowadays I think he's in Lahore as well. So, and we want that this should be resolved without any if and but. So let's see, and lots of discussions are going on within the political parties and within my party as well. So the top leadership and the parliamentarians are in discussion. So it will take some time, because Mr. Khan by himself is not clear what he wants to do, because today he had a meeting with the Chief Minister Punjab, and you must have witnessed when the Chief Minister Punjab, Mr. Pervez Lai, came out of the Zaman Park. I have observed that he was not in a good mood, because he knows that if Mr. Khan is taking a stance and he's saying that he don't want to go with the present assemblies, so certainly who will be the loser? Mr. Pervez Lai will be at the losing end, and he doesn't want that he should be on the losing end. So, but our party, we are in consultation with different stakeholders. So, within a day or two, you will listen something from our side as well.
Right. Arora Saab, stay with us and we'll be talking more about this as well. But Farrukh, considering, of course, this particular decision, whichever way it goes, especially in provinces of KP and Punjab, there are already concerns with regards to how the provinces are being run. And we heard about rifts between the bureaucratic setup and the government offices as well. In terms of this particular announcement, what all is at risk for all political parties, either way that the situation goes?
Sana, honestly, I think that media is just making a mountain out of molehill. Even if those two assemblies are dissolved, there is no guarantee that it is PTI that is going to be returned in majority by the electorate, and it in no way it affects the federal government or its stay in power. So it is basically, essentially, media doing what media does usually, right? But there is something, there is more to it than meets the eye. One aspect I understand that when we are looking at Punjab Assembly, we are committing the fallacy of actually seeing it as a monolith. Of course, within PTI there must be dissensions as well, divides as well. But the most important thing is that the Chief Minister of the province is not from PTI. It is from PMLQ, right? And the leader of PMLQ, a small party when it comes to the share in Punjab Assembly, in nowhere in future will be able to get this kind of power that he enjoys currently. So on media, he is going to, of course, say that he is going to dissolve assembly as soon as Imran Khan Sahib says it. Right? Imran Khan Sahib, when he was saying will be done, we will dissolve it. It reminded me of something that President Biden said to President Trump during the debate. When President Trump was saying that, okay, I will do this, I will do that, he said when? Inshallah? That means maybe or maybe not, right? All depends on God. So at this moment, it seems that there is more to it than meets the eye. Of course, on media, they keep on saying that they are going to dissolve assembly. And then, interestingly, in KPK, there is no third party. It is basically PTI. They could have been the first ones to start doing it, actually, dissolve the assembly. They haven't even done it from there. So what does it tell you? That it is more antics, more posturing. Of course, PTI and Imran Khan Sahab has this habit of actually saying something and actually becoming a prisoner of his own words or his own rhetoric, because we know that when there used to be APDM in 2007, 2008, he actually ended up boycotting the assembly. Otherwise, he could have, he was so popular in Karachi at that time, he could have been a big party even then, vanquishing MKM from Karachi. But he did not do it. He sat outside the assemblies for 5 years. So Imran Khan Sahab has this habit of committing these mistakes, and I think that if he dissolves the assemblies and once again he becomes a victim of his own rhetoric, a prisoner of his own rhetoric, he will have the option to leave the assemblies and leave the governments, but he won't know whether he can certainly return to power, because there are many a slip twixt a cup and a lip. You never know what can happen. Just before the federal government was removed, Imran Khan Sahab's federal government, every election, every by-election before that was carried by PDM. The moment he was removed, everything went topsy-turvy. And it was Imran Khan Sahab who was repeatedly winning. So how can you be sure that you are going to get the kind of, support by the electorate that you are hoping to get in 3 months?
Right.
But in politics, 3 months is a lifetime.
It's a long time, definitely. Badr Saab, considering the way that Imran Khan Saab has previously also talked about certain things, we can, of course, expect that perhaps we won't see a decision anytime soon, or perhaps that this is not something that actually falls through. But even with the long march, there was, of course, a lot of talk with regards to it happening, and that stretched on for a long time in terms of the dates given. And it can be argued, of course, that the initial objectives of the long march weren't exactly achieved, but there was political mileage that was gained. Can the same happen with regards to the dissolution of assembly, that it can be stretched on for very long and it becomes this sort of political problem that is being talked about on media, that is being discussed by the PGM as well, and this is something that you'll have to eventually deal with? Is that something that's part of the concern that you may have? Zulfikar Saab, are you with us?
If you look at
Go
the
ahead.
history of Mr. Khan, he is in a... Yes. If you
Yes,
look
sir,
at
go
the
ahead.
history of Mr. Khan, he has always been making up stories and coming up with different, stories, and he comes up with something new. So I don't think Mr. Khan is a political mature person, and he thinks about, or he has a vision of taking a decision with the vision in his mind. So I think his credibility has gone down from this long march decision and many other political decisions, including the selling of his watch, which was gifted from the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. This decision of dissolving the provincial assemblies of KP and Punjab Assembly, I think this will give a more devastating effect in the coming area, as they will lose the grip in the provincial, for both the provinces, and caretaker setup is going to be a neutral setup, and things which he has in his mind right now by controlling the administration and the local governments, I think he will lose that as well. So there is no guarantee that he will be able to get back into power as he is right now. And PDM is not at all worried from the decisions of Mr.
But
Khan.
Badr Sahab,
but
the
they will
PTI is
look for
ready to take that
counter-strategies
risk,
to counter
is it not? At least the chairman is.
Yeah, even, you see, the thing is, this is the call of the chief minister. If the chief minister dissolves the assembly, then I think all the parties will have to go for the elections. And we have to face the music and go in the battlefield and see what comes next. So it's not about winning or losing, it's about fighting. So the fight is going to be tough, and there is no guarantee that Mr. Khan is going to have the same support as he had the support of the people who matter in 2018. So this is going to be a big thing for him, uh, gaining all the seats which the same number of seats which he have right now in both the provinces. So
Right.
I
Barrister
think he
Safi,
will have
earlier
to think,
you
twice or more times.
Yes, absolutely. Badr Sahab, we'll come back to you. Barrister Safi, earlier you were talking about the fact that this would perhaps eventually go to the courts. Will that be a beneficial development in any way?
And how?
Yes. So
How will it end up? With
that's a very good question, and I'll just talk about two things here. Obviously, it could go to the court because at any point of time there could be a procedural error in the way a vote of no confidence is presented, or in a manner that the assembly is dissolved. Any party could challenge the matter on procedures. These things happen all the time, and once they go to the courts have their own mind. We have seen time and again various judgments come out that border on being extremely political. And so the courts then would have a large part to play in the way things turn out. Sometimes we've seen that courts end up creating new jurisprudence. We've seen in countless cases where long established case laws have been discarded in the favor of new political doctrines that the courts have spun up in the spur of the moment. But that's a different thing, that's always a wild card. I feel the way PTI is going, and I'm really concerned here about the party. I actually want PTI to stay as a solid opposition. It's necessary to have an opposition in a good, thriving democracy. However, what PTI seems to be doing is throwing away the towel altogether. It's like they are not fighting anymore, they don't want to do anything. Because if you think about it, by dissolving the assemblies, they will no longer have any say in who the caretaker government is. They've already done that in the National Assembly. They will lose that power in the provincial assemblies. They've already driven a tremendous wedge between themselves and the armed forces, tremendous wedge between themselves and the judiciary, tremendous wedge between themselves and the bureaucracy, and continuously harassing and berating the
again,
media.
sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you. But between themselves and judiciary, that astounds me,
so I would
because
say
recently they have gotten relief, as much relief
they
as
have
possible
they have
from the
gotten more
courts.
relief than any other political party has, and yet they have never stopped for an instance to stop and appreciate the courts. In fact, it's always been the other way around. Why were the courts open at 12 in the night? Why did the courts open on a Sunday? On the few decisions that came out against them, like for instance, just to give you an example, recently Azam Swati's bail was, the physical remand was extended, the judicial remand was not given. The entire social media was amok about how biased the courts are, and this happens every time.
But what is it to a court?
It's
Court
nothing,
is a
it's
court,
nothing to a
yeah.
court. I'll
Court
tell you
is
what
not
it is. I'll tell
supposed
you,
to take care of these
I'll tell you what it
issues.
is to a court. At the end of the day, judges who are following the law are also humans. If they are being insulted online, if they are being insulted by party leaders in conferences and political jalsas, they, at the end of the day, being human, they also start feeling emotions that may be pro or against a political party. And because PTI's behavior towards every institution, including the courts, has been very emotional, we can expect some of those emotional responses to spill over from the institutions as well as a retaliation to what the PTI is
You
doing.
realize that you might have spun up
I
a new
haven't-
judicial doctrine.
I haven't.
in
I'm
its
just
own.
saying that judges are humans at the end of the day, and by berating them, the people do take
Yeah.
strong risks,
Yeah,
and that's not a risk that ought to be taken in a country which has been very lax with the idea of contempt of court. Much contempt has been committed, hardly any punishments have been given. The courts have shown extraordinary restraint, especially with PTI, and I'm not sure if that could continue for a very long time.
No, hats off to them. But with due respect, let me actually, this takes me back
And if you-
to.
and I
Badr
may
Sahab,
add,
just
if you have
just a
seen the
small
statement of
intervention. Badr
Mr.
Sahab, I'm going to
Chaudhary
come back to
today.
you. Just allow me this tiny intervention. This actually takes me back to non-PC era of journalism when I started, right? and Barrister Safi at that time, I understand now everyone tries to be as politically correct as possible. But back then, the press clubs used to call it a den for barking, bhonkne ki azadi, right? That no matter what, you can say whatever you want, and without actually them realizing that they are being targeted at. So the best thing in any case would be for the courts to ignore this darker parts of social media rather than actually making something of it.
But it's not just on social media, right? We also see PTI actively condemning them in jalsas, not just in jalsas, sometimes even in press conferences.
And then they're made to pay.
Even in the, and of course, and they have paid heavy prices time and again, and they might continue to. Who knows?
That's okay.
We've been joined once again by Ramesh Singh Arora Sahab. Thank you very much, Arora Sahab, for rejoining again in the show. We're of course talking about various concerns that we may have in terms of what is going on, in terms of what PTI's stance has been in the past as well, and how the political future is looking like for all the different parties. But of course, the concern that the kind of actions that we need from the political setup, from the opposition parties, from the parliament, unfortunately hasn't been there, and that is perhaps the most needed argument. Considering that the stance of the PTI right now is that they want to go ahead with the dissolution, or they want to convince the parliamentary party to go ahead with resignations, is there any way that the PMLN or the PDM wants to be able to go ahead with the PTI in terms of discussions of moving back from these decisions and going ahead with any sort of consensus for the political dynamics of the country?
Ma'am, we need to understand, who would be the politician, they don't want that there should be a resolve of every issue. And when we talk about the politics is whenever there's a deadlock, there's a debate, dialogue, and dialogue. And it's all politics. But we need to understand, and I'm being a parliamentarian and being a politician, honestly speaking, I'm totally clueless and I'm unable to understand what exactly Mr. Khan wants. Does he want destabilization in the country? Does he want polarized society where everyone is badtamizi, and what exactly? And this is totally ununderstandable. What exactly is happening on the social media? Is you are safe on social media? Answer would be no. I am safe. The answer would be no. Our institutions are safe. Answer would be no. So this is how he has polarized the entire society. And if we talk about particularly about this dharna, what this dharna has given to the nation, he had a dharna of more than 126 days, and during 13 to 18 tenure, nothing came out of it. And now again he's talking about dharna and this agitation, each and everything, but nothing came out of it. And he did an experience and came to Rawalpindi on 26th, and what was the result? He was unable to gather 20,000 people over there. So now, I totally agree. One of colleague, he was talking about that this is a media stunt. I totally agree. This is a totally media stunt. I am in the Punjab Assembly and have personally witnessed how Mr. Parvez Lai fought with his family, and everyone within his family, they were not happy with him, but he stood with them, Imran Khan, just for the sake of this chief ministership. Now he got the chief ministership after this long struggle, and he knows that this is his last time being a chief minister. Next time, whosoever is going to come, he would not be the chief minister of Punjab. So it is, and he has started lots of initiative, development work. So that is a separate debate, how they are misusing development funds, how they are misusing the authority. That's the total, and how he has hired the services of his own political assistant, Mr. Khan, who was hired on grade 7, now he's grade 22 officer as a secretary to chief minister. That's a totally different debate. But now the thing is, Parvez, I would never like that he should be no more the chief minister of Punjab. But we want that there should be a democratic way, and all the political parties, and we want discussion with the PTI. But to whom we talk, because all the time Mr. Khan, he has just one slogan: they are mad. I don't want to sit with them. I would rather
And Arora Sahab, I understand that, but I would like to very quickly get Zulfikar Sahab's opinion on the fact that at the end of the day, whenever we talk about all of these instances, all of the things that we can perhaps say has damaged Pakistan and the political dynamics of the country, at the end of the day, the PTI is still a strong contender. Of course, the way that the followers have still existed is still a truth that we'll have to deal with, even if there's a call for early elections or not, which means, of course, that there's perhaps a strategy or some sort of aspect which is not really being looked at, because if we're just emphasizing on what we believe has happened or damaged the country, it's apparently not enough.
This has damaged the entire country. Like now, you just see the economic condition. Where do we stand? Investors, they are not coming to Pakistan. The China investors, it's not coming to Pakistan. CPEC has been stopped. Why? Because there's no political stability. And if there is no political stability in the country, certainly investors would never like to come. Not only the foreign investors, your own people, they will take their own investors from Pakistan and they will go outside.
Right, absolutely. Thank you very much, Zulfikar Sahab. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but thank you very much for being a part of the debate. Thank you very much, Sardar Ramesh Singh Arora, for joining us and being a part of this segment. That's all that we have from this particular segment. We'll take a short break and continue with the next one.
Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth.
Correction.
Welcome back to the debate. We're now going to be talking a little bit about what is going on in terms of Pakistan's efforts to import crude oil from Russia. And of course, the delegation is there and they have been asking for a 30 to 40% discount, something that Russia is saying it will consider, but hasn't really given a strong stance on. Of course, in terms of what exactly is going to happen, how that is going to benefit the economic situation, whether or not we're going to be seeing that happen is of concern. Barrister Safi, when we consider that, especially whenever we talk about any stance with Russia in terms of any sort of engagement, there was of course the US concern. They have sort of clarified or made a statement that this is not something that bothers them. But again, the way that this is going to be looked at and perceived internally as well, and how that's going to affect the way that Pakistan is going to go ahead is still a concern. But in terms of the way that the economic situation is going to improve or not is one aspect that I'd like you to shed light on. And then of course, in terms of this particular deal, we haven't really seen that the Russian side has agreed to any such a discount, and it may seem that they're not very inclined to do so. Is there any possibility in that regard?
Right. So, Sana, it is my opinion that this deal was a deal done, or this visit is a visit that is being done only for theatrics. And there are two reasons why this visit would be done. Firstly, because there's been a lot of pressure from the previous PTI government, which kept stating that they were going to land a phenomenal deal with Russia, and this government has bowed down now to the US powers, and it's ignored Russia at the peril of Pakistan. So therefore, to diffuse the idea, there was a delegation that has now gone to Russia to show to the people of Pakistan that they too are not being held hostage by any political country, and that they are free to go and trade with whichever country they want. And secondly, because recently we saw a firebrand interview by the Petroleum Minister of India, who was very strong, very solid, and he said that India can buy their oil from whoever they want, and he berated the Western powers for trying to control India. And that made waves globally, and I think Pakistan wanted to do something along those same lines, try and show that we are an independent sovereign country. However, that is only political posturing. Why Pakistan will never buy Russian oil is for a bunch of reasons. Firstly, because Russian crude oil comes in 4 forms. There is ESPO, Ural, Sakhol, and Sukhail. All of these 4 forms of crude oil are very high in sulfur. That is why Pakistan buys its oil from UAE, from Saudi Arabia, and from Iraq, because the sulfur content of the oil here is much lower, and our refineries can only process this kind of oil. Our refineries are simply incapable of processing any Russian oil except for Sokhal, which is in very, very high demand globally anyways, and it's unlikely that we'd get any discount for that. So in any case, the majority of Russian oil was beyond our reach. Even if we were to get that oil, we would not be able to process it. Now, if we were to get that oil, the route that oil would take is also very circuitous and very long. It goes through the Black Sea, crosses the Suez Canal, and reaches Pakistan through multiple NATO blockades, and at a time when there is no insurance that is being given, at a time when no bank is willing to open letters of credits with Russia, we know for a fact that it would never have panned out. And finally, as if it were a cherry on top for all of this, Biden announced today that they are looking to ease sanctions on Venezuela. By easing sanctions on Venezuela and allowing Chevron to work globally, we will be experiencing a dip in oil prices simply because of the output of Venezuelan oil increasing. So once again, it's my opinion that this was not a deal that Pakistan was actually going to do. However, something good did come out of this visit, and what good came out was the Russian perspective on the matter. Russia stated that they are unwilling to enter into this deal with Pakistan because of Pakistan's inability to complete the North-South gas pipeline project, which is being funded by Russia. Even if there was no deal that could have concluded, but even if this serves as an impetus, as a reminder to Pakistan to complete its obligations, these obligations to complete infrastructural projects like the oil gas pipeline, the white oil pipeline, the North-South gas pipeline, the IP, the India, Pakistan, Iran gas pipeline, the TAPI, the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India gas pipeline. These are extremely important infrastructural projects for the long-term benefit of Pakistan.
With your permission, Sana,
please,
can I complain, raise a concern? I understand that there might not be a possibility of getting the oil, as you have very elaborately explained, but to actually conclude that it is theatrics and it is posturing is amazing conclusion. I mean, suddenly I feel that we are dramatically actually indicting ourselves. I mean, there's a team over there. They are there to negotiate. There's always a chance that you are bargaining, right? You're offering something. It is not as if they're sitting in their hotels and they refuse to talk to the Russian side. They have spoken to them. They have made an offer. There's always a chance that bargaining wins. So you'll end up actually getting that. So why would I call it theatrics or posturing?
For the reason that.
And by the way, since you said that there is pressure because Imran Khan have said that he could have done it, then why wouldn't I believe that Imran Khan sahab, because we don't have the capacity and because Russia doesn't have the kind of oil that I need, why would I conclude that Imran Khan sahab is not posturing? And given that India that actually has a lot of clout and still actually has been manipulating behind the scenes, why is it that India's is not posturing?
So, okay, so both things. Imran Khan was obviously posturing. There's no doubt about the fact. I did not for a moment try and suggest that Imran Khan was there to get a legit deal either. He was doing the same thing. Okay. There is no doubt about it in my head. We've spoken to a lot of petroleum experts on the matter. Everyone has concluded that Imran Khan was there for a no deal show anyways. But as far as India is concerned, and this is what's particularly interesting, India is buying Russian oil. Yeah. But Russian oil is only 1.2% of India's total oil buying. And despite spending only 1.2% on Russian oil, India gets massive flack. And India is targeted globally. And therefore, India stood up to this bullying. I actually admire India's stance on the matter. I feel like
so does former Prime Minister, but this is the problem with our knee-jerk reaction to any position that the West takes, that we have to actually say that it is bullying. Other countries keep on bullying as well. Russia, you just mentioned this bit about North-South, agreement. It wasn't properly, vetted. It wasn't properly funded, even by Russian side. And we somehow don't call it bullying. We'll keep on calling the Western demands or expectations.
Here's a place where I unfortunately am.
America allowed India to import, and that was amazing. What a blind spot. Allow fuel from Iran based on escrow for years, right? They even allowed them to do it from Russia, and yet they're bullies. And India is not.
No, I meant to, I didn't get the context here, but I meant to say that India.
Should I
please,
lay it out for you? My humble concern is that on one side we are indicting ourselves repeatedly that we did not fulfill this commitment or that commitment, right? Despite the fact that recently Pakistan, this today's news, actually went for bidding regarding a tender for importing wheat of 500,000 tons of wheat. And the company that seems to have won is Russian, right? and they are going to export their wheat to Pakistan, but that's okay. My concern is that why is it that we particularly contextualize movement of certain countries? For example, you're not the first person to glamorize India's stances, even though we know what Narendra Modi's government keeps on doing. It is merely posturing. And then
we only have very little time for Barrister Safi to respond to that.
Yeah.
No, I feel like, of course, I am not going to, I am obviously Narendra Modi's
today
behavior.
You're restricting me, I don't know why.
The producer is restricting me as well, so we only have a couple of minutes.
I obviously have tremendous disagreements with the way Narendra Modi is running his government on many issues, but I feel like they have done some things that are right as well. Every government comes with things that they do correctly and they do incorrectly. We need not take everything in black and
All
whites.
right, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much, Farrukh. And you're going to get me in trouble, Farrukh, but go ahead.
It will be on me, right? There was a poem by a black child. Whatever I do, I black, right? And when you're ill, you're blue. When you're cold, you're this, various colors, right? When you're happy, lilac, so forth, right? So there seems to be this concern as well. Every time we talk about India and Pakistan, somehow we are bad, somehow India is good.
All right, thank you very much. That's all we have time for. We have no time for closing, so we'll see you tomorrow.